This gorilla raised 2 dog pups, but when they grew up, something unthinkable happened. The air inside the sanctuary enclosure was thick with the heavy, humid promise of impending rain, clinging to the skin like a damp, suffocating shroud. Beneath the dense, sprawling canopy of ancient oak and thick, twisting vines, the morning light struggled to penetrate, casting fractured, emerald shadows across the dew-soaked, black earth. There, backed against the weathered, moss-covered stone of the sanctuary's northern wall, sat Maliki. He was a 400-pound silverback gorilla, a breathtaking mountain of tightly coiled muscle and dark, coarse hair, his massive chest heaving with an erratic, terrifying rhythm that vibrated through the humid air. But it was not Maliki's formidable, dominating presence that sent a cold, paralyzing spike of dread through the hearts of the keepers standing helplessly beyond the reinforced observation glass. It was the unthinkable sight of what he held in his massive, leathery arms. 2 fully grown, golden-coated dogs, their sunset-colored fur stark and brilliant against the gorilla's obsidian chest, were pinned beneath his fiercely protective embrace. Maliki's dark lips were curled back, exposing yellowed, 2-inch canines, while a low, rumbling growl vibrated deep within his throat, a sound of such primal warning that it shook the very leaves hanging around him. For 3 agonizing days, he had categorically refused to let the dogs out of his sight, barring the desperate keepers from entering the enclosure, treating his lifelong canine companions as if they were fragile, endangered hostages. It was a behavior that completely and utterly defied natural instinct, a sudden, violent severance of the profound trust he had shared with his human caretakers for over a decade, leaving the sanctuary staff staring into a heartbreaking abyss of mystery. Before we unravel the breathtaking truth behind Maliki's terrifying, violent stand and the unthinkable secret the golden dogs were hiding beneath their fur, take a moment to join our global community of animal lovers and storytellers. If cinematic stories of unbreakable animal bonds and the hidden intelligence of the natural world touch your soul, please leave a warm like on this video, subscribe to our channel, and tell us in the comments below exactly where in the world you are watching from and what time it is there right now. Your engagement is the lifeblood that allows us to continue bringing these incredible, untold miracles of nature out of the shadows and into the light. To truly understand the sheer, breathtaking heartbreak of this sudden standoff, one must first understand the profound, impossible poetry of their beginning. 5 years prior to this suffocating morning, during a brutal season of relentless biting winds and frost-hardened earth, sanctuary workers had found 2 abandoned retriever mix puppies shivering violently near the perimeter fence. They were immediately brought inside the warming huts, smelling intensely of wet asphalt, sour milk, and the desperate metallic tang of freezing rain, their tiny bodies trembling uncontrollably against the sterile steel of the examination tables. Through a profound twist of fate and a momentary lapse in the locking mechanism of a secondary indoor enclosure door, Maliki, a silverback known for his deeply solitary, often melancholic and withdrawn demeanor, encountered them. Instead of the brutal, deafening territorial display the horrified keepers anticipated as they rushed to intervene, the massive silverback had simply dropped gently to his knuckles. The pungent, earthy scent of his musky, primate sweat mingled beautifully with the dusty, sweet, irresistible aroma of warm puppy fur. He extended a single, calloused index finger, thick as a human wrist and textured like ancient tree bark, and delicately stroked the trembling golden heads. From that miraculous, silent moment, an unbreakable trans-species pack was born. The sensory atmosphere of their shared life over the next 5 years was a continuous symphony of warmth and tactile affection. The keepers watched, mesmerized and often moved to tears, as the seasons rolled by, bathing the enclosure in the soft, honeyed light of countless lazy afternoons. Maliki would painstakingly and obsessively groom the dogs, his charcoal black leathery fingers delicately picking through their golden coats, creating a stark visual and textural contrast that looked like rough, dark stone resting against spun sunlight. The dogs, officially named Barnaby and Silas, grew into muscular, joyful adults, their comforting scent of sun-baked grass and warm, playful canine breath becoming a permanent anchoring fixture in Maliki's previously lonely world. They slept every night in a tangled, multicolored heap, the deep, resonant, booming drumming of the gorilla's massive heart acting as a rhythmic lullaby for the two dogs. It was a flawless utopia of interspecies empathy, an Eden built entirely on mutual unquestioning trust and the soft language of physical touch. But Eden, even in the wild, is rarely built to withstand the ravages of time and biology, and the rapid deterioration of their paradise arrived on the stifling wings of a sweltering, oppressive summer heatwave. The air inside the enclosure turned stagnant and heavy, smelling strongly of baked mud, parched grass, and the overripe, rotting fruit from the fig trees overhead. The anxious keepers first noticed the ominous shift in Maliki. The silverback, usually eager to greet the rattling morning feeding cart with soft grunts of anticipation, instead retreated entirely to the darkest, coolest, most inaccessible corner of the rocky habitat. His deep brown eyes, usually bright, expressive, and highly observant, became clouded with an unspoken, heavy terror that the staff could not decipher. Then, the behavior of the dogs catastrophically fractured. Barnaby and Silas completely stopped their endless, joyful games of chase. They began to pace frantically around Maliki's massive, brooding form, their claws clicking against the dry, sun-baked rocks in a relentless, anxiety-inducing staccato rhythm that echoed through the silent sanctuary. The keepers could physically smell it before they could diagnose it, a sharp, acidic scent of pain and blind panic radiating from the enclosure. A pheromonal distress signal so thick it tasted metallic and sour on the back of the human tongue. Dr. Aris, the sanctuary's head veterinarian, watched with a growing cold desperation as the clinical signs drastically worsened by the hour. Maliki violently refused his daily piles of fresh fruits and crisp leafy greens, pushing them away with sweeping, aggressive strikes of his massive arms that left the sharp, bitter scent of crushed, bruised foliage hanging in the humid air. The dogs vehemently refused to leave his side, their once joyful barks devolving into low, mournful, chest-rattling keens. Every single attempt by the desperate keepers to coax the dogs away for a routine, vital checkup was met with a terrifying, earth-shaking display of aggression from Maliki. He would violently charge the reinforced glass, the concussive, deafening boom of his open fists against the barrier echoing like thunderstrikes, his hot, heavy breath instantly fogging the thick pain. The sanctuary experts were utterly paralyzed by fear and confusion. Were the dogs suddenly reverting to a feral, pack mentality state? Was the aging gorilla suffering from a sudden, violent neurological break or a hidden brain lesion? The dire situation was rapidly and uncontrollably spiraling into a fatal starvation strike for all three animals, and the atmospheric tension in the observation room was as brittle, sharp, and dangerous as shattered glass. The ultimate truth, as it so often does in the untamed narratives of the natural world, lay deeply hidden beneath layers of ancient instinct and profound, unseen suffering, demanding a dangerous, high-stakes medical intervention. With the humid, suffocating promise of a torrential downpour finally breaking into a chaotic, driving, freezing rain, Dr. Aris made the heart-wrenching, risky decision to use a heavy tranquilizer dart on Maliki. The sharp, mechanical thwip of the compressed air rifle cut cleanly through the rhythmic, deafening drumming of the heavy rain against the jungle leaves. Maliki roared, a devastating sound of betrayal and fury that tasted of copper and pure heartbreak, before the heavy, fast-acting narcotic finally dragged his massive, fighting body into a forced, unnatural slumber, his beautiful silver-streaked fur quickly becoming matted with the cold rain and dark mud. The dogs, surprisingly, did not viciously attack the heavily armored keepers as they rushed into the enclosure. Instead, they threw their trembling bodies over Maliki's rising and falling chest, crying out in sheer, unadulterated, desperate grief. It was only when Dr. Aris managed to gently, carefully separate the weeping Silas from the sleeping Silverback that the unthinkable, hidden physical truth was finally, tragically uncovered. It was not Maliki who was dying. As Dr. Aris ran his gloved, highly trained hands firmly over the golden dog's tense abdomen, pressing beneath the soaked, coarse fur, his fingers met a massive, hard, and terrifyingly unnatural mass hidden deep within the dog's soft belly. Silas had rapidly developed an incredibly aggressive, life-threatening abdominal tumor. The sharp, acidic scent of pain the keepers had noticed haunting the air was not coming from the stressed gorilla. It was the distinct chemical scent of Silas's failing body chemistry.
The microscopic, devastating smell of rapid cellular decay, and the unthinkable, awe-inspiring realization struck the entire veterinary team like a heavy physical blow to the chest. Maliki's violent, standoffish, terrifying behavior was not a symptom of sudden primate madness. The silverback possessed an olfactory and emotional sensitivity so deeply acute, so finely tuned to his companions, that he had literally smelled the sickness growing inside his canine son long before human medical equipment or trained veterinarians could detect a single flaw.
Maliki wasn't holding the golden dogs hostage in a fit of rage. He was building a fortress. He was violently, desperately guarding his dying child from the outside world, refusing to let the perceived threats of the human keepers separate his fragile pack in what he truly believed were their final, fleeting hours on Earth. The cold, biological, technical precision of the canine's rapidly failing organs was mirrored perfectly by the soaring emotional precision of the gorilla's desperate, instinctual, earth-shattering grief. The ensuing, agonizing hours were a chaotic blur of stark, blinding, sterile surgical lights and the sharp, medicinal sting of chemical antiseptic flooding the sanctuary's pristine surgical suite. Silas underwent immediate, emergency, life-saving surgery to meticulously extract the massive invasive tumor, a delicate and bloody procedure that left the cold air heavy with the overwhelming metallic tang of blood and the harsh, sterile scent of iodine and bleached cotton. When the golden dog was finally mercifully stabilized, wrapped tightly in stark, snow-white medical bandages that contrasted sharply against his dulling golden fur, the miraculous healing process of their temporarily fractured bond could finally begin. The staff gently wheeled the groggy, heavily medicated, recovering dog back to a specialized, straw-lined, climate-controlled recovery bay, separated from the now awake and deeply anxious Maliki only by a heavy, reinforced steel mesh divider. The very second Maliki awoke from his narcotic haze and locked his deep, expressive eyes with his heavily bandaged canine companion, the terrifying, suffocating tension that had violently gripped the sanctuary for days instantly and completely evaporated. The silverback slowly dragged his immense, aching weight to the steel mesh, his thick, dark, leathery fingers desperately reaching through the cold metal holes. Silas, incredibly weak but undeniably alive, dragged his own battered body forward across the floor until his warm, wet nose met Maliki's trembling fingers. The physical reconnection was breathtaking in its immense, tear-inducing gentleness. The coarse, leathery, rough texture of the primate's giant hand pressed softly against the soft, warm, wet velvet of the dog's snout. Then came the most beautiful, miraculous sound in the world, synchronized breathing. the erratic, panicked, pain-filled panting of the recovering dog, and the heavy, stressed, exhausted exhalations of the giant gorilla slowly and beautifully aligned, falling into a deep, rhythmic, shared tempo of survival. The stifling, acidic scent of pure fear that had haunted the room was entirely replaced by the warm, earthy, comforting smell of fresh yellow straw and the profound, palpable, heavy release of physical and emotional tension. They breathed as one single, unified entity, their hearts beating in perfect time across the cold steel divide. This extraordinary, heart-stopping ordeal leaves us staring directly into the profound, deeply philosophical legacy of animal intelligence and the incredibly vast, uncharted landscape of interspecies empathy. For countless centuries, humanity has arrogantly positioned itself at the absolute pinnacle of creation, claiming to be the sole proprietor of complex, sacrificial love and intuitive medical empathy. Yet right here, beneath the sprawling, rain-soaked canopy of a humble wildlife sanctuary, a silverback gorilla effortlessly demonstrated a powerful sixth sense of love that completely transcends human logic and understanding. Maliki's breathtaking actions loudly remind us that nature is not merely a brutal, unforgiving theater of survival, driven only by cold, calculated biology and the selfish preservation of genetic code. It is, instead, a vast, deeply interconnected web of pure emotional resonance. Animals listen intently to the invisible chemical whispers of the world around them. They feel the unseen, shifting tectonic plates of life, illness, and death deeply within those they choose to claim as their own family, seamlessly reading the subtle textures of a breath and the microscopic scent of illness with an ancient, unspoken, beautiful wisdom. They love fiercely, they mourn deeply, and they protect their own with a terrifying, awe-inspiring devotion that completely shames our own modern, human disconnect from the natural world.
The unforgettable story of Maliki, Barnaby, and Silas is a soaring, permanent testament to the enduring, miraculous power of love. A love that recognizes absolutely no species, respects no physical boundaries, and completely ignores all biological limitations. It is fundamentally a story of a fierce jungle giant who softly became a father, and a love so incredibly deep, so impossibly pure, that it could literally smell the encroaching shadows of death and choose to stand defiantly, violently in its path to protect the innocent.
If this emotional journey through the beautiful, heartbreaking language of the heart has moved your spirit today, please hit that like button, subscribe to our channel to join our family, and share this video far and wide with anyone who desperately needs a reminder of the pure magic left in this world. But before you go, we want to hear directly from you. Have you ever experienced a profound moment in your own life where an animal displayed a mysterious sixth sense, somehow knowing you were sick, deeply sad, or in grave danger before you even realized it yourself? Tell us your incredible story in the comments below. And until next time, keep your hearts open and keep listening to the beautiful, unspoken voices of the wild.